Okay, today, what are we doing today? Today we are doing a video that my producer McKenna is forcing me to do. We always have to have more content. I'm always told, it's not enough content, Matt. You need more content.
What am I gonna do without my content?
I'm just a piece of meat, a content-producing piece of meat. I'm just gonna read the email that McKenna sent me to force me to do this video. I found this Reddit forum debating the "Can you tell me what a cat is" scene from What is a Woman? After stumbling upon it this morning, the post was locked down because it was posted to the subreddit There Was an Attempt, and apparently the post violated the rules because it didn't show an unsuccessful attempt. And I guess we should start by playing the scene, right? We should play it? Here it is.
Where does a guy get a right to say what a woman is? Women only know what women are.
Are you a cat?
No.
Can you tell me what a cat is?
This is actually a genuine mistake. I am sorry I even came up there.
You want to tell us what a woman is? And I should also tell you a little bit of background on that before we get to the Reddit reaction. We were walking through San Francisco at the time, and after we had just talked to a gender-affirming, quote-unquote, surgeon, and we're walking through the Castro district, which is like the gay district of San Francisco, which is already kind of redundant to say that. We talked to like a nudist that was walking down the street, and it's Sodom and Gomorrah all over the place. This guy, he comes up because according to him, we shouldn't be talking to men, we should be talking to women. So that's how he got on camera. And then in that exchange, he instantly regretted his decision.
I immediately regret this decision.
Let's check out what some people on Reddit, what they make of that moment. Sir Sunkrum says, Sunkrum? Street debate interviews tend to be pretty lowest common denominator in general. There's not much time to prepare, gather thoughts, etc. The actual person initiating tends to have a lot more practice in such, and thus has an easy time using rhetoric to lure their opponents into saying dumb things to mock. There's not much intelligent discourse as a result, oftentimes. Growing up, I learned from people who often used street debating to show the superiority of their standpoint. Turns out, when you show up to a fight armed and ambush people who aren't ready, it's easy to beat the snot out of them, so to speak. Yes, except that in my film, What is a Woman, which you can watch at whatisawoman.com, we tried to seek out the most informed, so-called self-professed experts in the field. We sought out people who deal with this issue every single day. And they were no more prepared for the conversation than the people we talked to on the street. As I said, this individual, we didn't ambush. Another comment says, that's not exactly the best metaphor for his side of the argument. You could accurately define a cat as any of the following species: lion, tiger, jaguar, puma, lynx, cheetah, leopard, black-footed cat, black-footed cat, cheetah. There's literally dozens of cats out there, and you can only think of one type of woman. No, we're not. You're making my point for me. Yes, there are different types of cats. That doesn't mean that cat itself doesn't have a definition. And yes, there are different types of women. And when we say type, what do you mean? Like height, weight, race, ethnicity. So yeah, women come in all types. But the statement, women come in all types, can't mean anything unless we know what a woman is. Does it make sense that the same company who controls half of online retail also passively eavesdrops on your private conversations at home? Big tech is more powerful than most countries are, and they profit by exploiting your personal data. It's time to put a layer of protection between your online activity and big tech, and that's why I use ExpressVPN. Think about how much of your life is on the internet. Sadly, every site you visit, video you watch, message you send gets tracked and data mined, but when you run ExpressVPN on your device, the software hides your IP address, something big tech can use to personally identify you. So ExpressVPN makes your activity harder to trace and harder to sell to advertisers, therefore. ExpressVPN also encrypts 100% of your internet data to keep you safe from hackers and eavesdroppers that are on your network. What I like most about ExpressVPN is how easy it is to use. You can download the app on your phone or computer, tap one button, and that's it, you're protected. And ExpressVPN does all this without showing or slowing down your connection. That's why it's rated the #1 VPN service by TechRadar, The Verge, and countless others. So, stop handing all of your personal data over to the big tech monopoly who mines your activity and sells your information. Protect yourself with the VPN that I trust to keep me safe online. Visit expressvpn.com/WalshYT to get 3 extra months free. Murica in Patriot says, all he ever does is go and find people he knows will slip up. How many interviews with random people does he record before he finds the people that will trip over their own logic? Just like Steven Crowder, he prepares himself for a certain conversation and then hunts people down minding their own business and have not been thinking about the topic of conversation all day. These traps are such bullshit. Well, I can actually tell you, like, how many people did we have to go through before we found people that would say incredibly stupid things? We didn't have to go through any. We had to go all the way to Africa to find people that would just talk some common sense about this. We had to leave a lot on the cutting room floor for what is a woman, but it's not because we were looking desperately for the people who said stupid things. In fact, the conversation in the editing room was all about, I don't want to cut any of it. Like this should be a 16-hour movie. Sven Tropic says, I know this is also pedantic. It's like the gay marriage debate. The anti-crowd was always like, why do they need marriage? They can have civil unions and structure them however they want. And then you can turn around and say, well, why does anyone then? If your classification of male and female is simply who can contribute to making new people, then yes, a male to female trans person is still man, but then would someone who is sterile be it? Okay, there's that old canard again. No, the fact that there are sterile men and infertile women, that does not at all change or even challenge the definition of man and woman. We can accurately say that human beings are bipedal. We walk on two legs. That's an accurate statement. And if you were trying to define or describe a human to some alien from outer space that just landed, this would be part of your description. However, there are people who have no legs. There are people who have one leg. There are people who have two legs but can't walk on them. You might even find people with birth defects who have three legs. It's possible. Does that invalidate the statement that human beings have two legs? No. This is the exception that proves the rule. What do we mean by that? If someone does not have two legs or is not able to walk on two legs, then you automatically know that something is wrong because you know that human beings are supposed to have two legs and be able to walk on them. The fact that we can look at that exception and we automatically know, okay, if we look at this person's medical history, there's a problem here because they're not able to do something they should be able to do. Same thing with women who can't give birth, same thing with the men who are sterile. Bottom line, let people be whatever they need and want to be. It's literally nearly no effort on your part to call someone who wants to be called a she. It doesn't matter otherwise. This is why there was an attempt to Reddit forum. So there's an attempt briefly to actually engage with the conversation, and then the person realizes that they're not making any sense and it's fruitless. So then they retreat behind, look, people, just let people do what they want, but let them identify how they want. This is not a question of what we let people do. It's just a question of what is true, what's the reality. Let's start with that. Once we've established reality, then we can talk about what we let people do within the context of reality. I love Lord of the Rings. I've read the book so many times. I pretty much have the timeline in the back of Return of the King memorized. I have a tattoo in Elvish. My God, you dork. I've been obsessed for like 20 years. If somebody came up to me on the street and said, what is an elf? I would immediately go blank. No frickin' clue. An elf is a fictional character. So that's why it's hard to define. Because actually, an elf can be, I suppose, arguably whatever you want it to be, because it's an invention of the imagination. And it would be hard for anyone to tell you that you're wrong because it's all in the imagination. It's all in the ether. It's not in reality. In reality, there are limits. ZLG Code says, I don't think the underlying logic is wholly fallacious. Socially speaking, is it appropriate for men to tell women what women are? No, it's the same in the reverse. We can know a man is an adult male, but if you've not lived a man's life, you can't tell someone what it means to be a man, like what the life comes with, the challenges and advantages. We can recite knowledge we know from textbooks, but there's a line where, yes, men and women cannot tell the other what their identity is. Yeah, I agree with that for the most part. You're exactly right. Okay, so what we can say some basic things in defining the sexes. So we can say that a woman is an adult human female. However, what is it like to be a woman? You're exactly right. If you're a woman, you can't speak to that, which is also why a man can't be a woman. That's why when a male says, I feel like I'm a woman inside, that can't mean anything because since you're not a woman, you have no idea what the internal experience of a woman is. So there's no way for you to know. Whatever your internal experience is right now, if you're saying to yourself, well, this is the internal experience of a woman. If you aren't a woman, you couldn't possibly know that because you have nothing to compare it to. You have only your own experience. You have the experience of a male. That's the only experience you've ever had. So you're proving my point. My answer would be, a cat is a part of the feline species. But why are we talking about species, Matt? I thought we were talking about gender. Well, see, this is a thing. It's called a comparison. And the way that works, Ryo Hazuki 224, is that you take something that is not exactly the same as another thing, you find similarities. Okay, but in order to have an analogy or a comparison, the two things need to not be the same. F. Matt Walsh, dude is the king of incels. I don't give a shit about anything he says. Well, that's a good point. If I'm the king of incels, then we got some issues in the incel kingdom. If the king of incels is driving his 6 kids around in an 8-passenger van, and he's the king of celibate people, I think there's a disconnect. Okay, we'll just stop there. Good. I think this is good content. I don't know if it's good, but it's content. And that's all that matters.